Well, looks like we're back finally. Back in the saddle after a couple days off. I didn't realize that I had the information I needed to go on to the next chapter in the podcast. So sorry about that. I delayed my podcasting because I was confused. Not unusual as you get older, I guess, as I'm finding out. Well, welcome. Welcome to the podcast. It's the Colonel and the Kid podcast. And I am your host, Greg Heitmann, the kid, if you will. And this is a podcast in honor of my grandfather, Lieutenant Colonel Edwin P. Hagen Jr. He's my maternal grandfather, my mom's dad. And this whole thing is dedicated to my grandfather, inspired by him, and built on the memoir. And as I mentioned earlier on the chapter, today's episode is chapter 36, and it's called The Daughters, Part 1. I think there's going to be 4 different chapters involving the title Daughters. So this is Daughters Part 1. So we have parts 1 through 4 coming up in the future. And they'll be interspersed with other different chapter titles and chapter subjects. But this is the first one, Part 1. And this is the first podcast of April. And I'm looking over here. I have a calendar up there and I haven't even changed it. It's still on March. So today's April 3rd, Friday, April 3rd. It's Good Friday. Good Friday today. Start the Easter holiday with Good Friday today. And it's Friday, April 3rd, 2026. So here we are. Getting in the podcasting spirit. And I just, as I mentioned, that this is the podcast dedicated to my grandfather, and it's built on the memoir that I've written in tribute to the Colonel. I just called him Grandpa. The memoir is the spine of the podcast, but then there's other branches out from there. Some recurring segments and some new segments. Hopefully I'll get to them today. I have a new segment I wanted to introduce, and it's called Art or Not Art. So hopefully we get to that in some time constraints or lack thereof. Should have plenty of time. I don't know. Friday, weekend's getting started. Good Friday holiday. Not a lot of pressure to do anything. Just relax and reflect upon the holiday itself, I guess. Easter holiday, probably the most important important holiday of the Christian religion, I would say, in my opinion, my humble opinion, with my limited knowledge of Christianity, which I'm trying to work on, but the miracle of the resurrection. So enjoy that peace that goes with that for all you Christians out there. And there's all the major religions have a tie into this time of year, but I don't really know much about them as much as I do about the Christian religion. So I'll just leave it at that for now. Anyway, let's get to it, I guess. Let's get this chapter in the record and go from there. It's always, I guess it's always satisfying to me to get it recorded, get the memoir chapter recorded as far as the audio version and the video version, because we also have the video version that will be put up on YouTube video, so you can see me and see the pictures of the chapter and put that into the historical context of forever. So they say that once it's on the internet, you can never delete it, no matter what. It's always there. You can try to delete it, but once it goes up, it never goes away. So I guess that's one of the things that I personally enjoy about doing this, is that it's putting the memory of my grandfather into eternity, I guess, forever. As far as we know, as far as a simple person like me understands the internet, where once it goes up on the internet, it can never be removed, as far as I know. So that's one of the things I really enjoy, I guess, when I'm doing these podcasts. If you didn't realize that, then maybe gives you a little bit of a behind the scenes look at at me. And I should say I don't know if I say this every time, but I talk about the memoir itself, writing the memoir and doing these podcasts and talking about this stuff. It has been it's like a psychotherapy for me. More when I was writing it, and more just writing in general was when I started writing screenplays and novels. It was more like therapy to deal with some of the stresses of life and working and jobs and everything like on those fronts out there. But more lately, I guess it's more. I like to say the psychotherapy is organizing your thoughts and being able to think more clearly and having, I guess, just a system in place for yourself and how to monitor your own thoughts and ideas and everything else. And that's another thing that I have enjoyed with doing the podcast and writing is being able to, I guess, actually produce first writing of the memoir and then producing that in the podcast itself. But then I always listen to the podcast, my own podcast, before I publish it. And then usually I'll at some point later, then I'll listen to it again through the actual through my phone and podcast after I've taken a little break from it to just to hear myself and I guess get an outside look at how I'm presenting my thoughts and see if they're organized and make sense. And I think that for the most part, I do okay. There's nothing really um, out there. One of the funniest things is finding mistakes or just hearing yourself say the wrong word. You may have been thinking everything was correct when you're talking, but your mind has like skipped or something, just made a glitch, and you say something that's completely wrong. And I think one of the things I have a corrections segment in here too that I like to talk about. And I for today I didn't have any corrections that I thought of, but I know there was one last time in the Good-Hearted Woman chapter about my grandma. And I think I was trying to figure out, and I never did look. I wanted to do that research and figure out the age of my grandpa and grandma when they got married. And I think when I was talking about it in the podcast, I'm sure I'm when I heard myself say it, that it was wrong. I said that my grandma was a couple years older than my grandpa. When I heard that, I don't remember saying that. I thought I said it correctly, that my grandpa was like 2 years older than my grandma. And just to hear yourself say something like that, this completely wrong, it's just like, wow, how does that happen? And I think what I was trying to say was that yeah, that my grandpa was older or that my grandma was younger, but I used the wrong word or something. It's very, I guess, interesting to try to understand how your brain works and why you would say something like that. And I don't know. I get a kick out of that too. Just listening to myself on the podcast. I guess maybe I'm just easily entertained by myself. It's funny to me. Anyway, sorry about that. We're already digressing into uncharted waters before the 10-minute mark, and then we're already 9 minutes in, and I've rambled on long enough. So we're just going to get to the chapter and get that in the record, and then people that listen to the podcast just for for the memoir itself, you'll be able to just drop off and not have to worry about the um, the rest of the peripheral information that I share during during the podcast. That maybe it more than likely is totally unrelated to the memoir, but nonetheless, still very important. You shouldn't drop off. You don't know what you're missing, and if you do, you're probably aimless in your life by not hearing the rest of the podcast. All right, let's get to the podcast. Oh, the 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 heart of the podcast, the Colonel and the Kid memoir. In today's chapter, chapter 36, The Daughters, Part 1. And per usual, we start the chapter with a quote. Quote, "A daughter needs a dad to be the standard against which she will judge all men." End quote. And that's from Unknown. I couldn't track that down of who said that, but I think that's a really important quote, I guess, of how life works in general, of how men and women interact, and how a woman can find a husband like her dear old dad. I think there's like songs about that. It's just, I think, very appropriate to start this chapter with the daughters. To the chapter. This chapter is best represented by the photo that I've shared below. This is my favorite photo of Grandpa and his family. My grandma, Betty Jean, my aunt, his youngest daughter, Kathy, and his oldest daughter, my mom, Carol Lee. This is the image I have whenever I think of each of them. And we have the first photo. And for those of you not watching the video podcast, you're going to miss out on this. And I'll insert this photo into the YouTube video podcast, but I'll read the caption here and then I'll try to describe the photo a little bit. The caption reads, "Photo of the original Ed Hagen Jr. family. The Colonel's clan circa 2003, gathered in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. From left to right, Kathy Tunge, Grandpa, Ed Hagen Jr., Gregory Heitmann, and Grandma, aka Betty Jean." I had a copy of this photo on my refrigerator for so long that when I went to take a picture of it with my iPhone for use in the memoir, it was only then that I realized it was much too faded. Luckily, my mom had another copy. So anyway, I was able to get this copy of this photo scanned in and put into the memoir. And it's just it's the women in my grandpa's life. And they're sitting at a table in Sioux Falls. And I'm not even sure who the photographer is. I'm going to guess my dad, but I'm not for sure on that. And as you're looking at the photo on the left, it's Kathy, and she's got a red sweater over a white shirt, and next to on Kathy's left is Grandpa, and Grandpa's got his arms and his hands are folded, and his arms are leaning on the table. He's got a blue polo shirt on, and on the polo shirt, I'm pretty sure that Garrett Heitmann, my younger brother, gave him that shirt, and it says Air Force. And I'm pretty sure it says Holloman AFB, or for Air Force Base. It's got some little wings on there, like Air Force wings on the logo for his polo shirt that he's wearing. Real nice shirt. And Grandpa, and well, everybody's looking directly at the camera and mostly smiling. Grandpa's maybe more neutral expression, but everyone else is smiling pretty good. And then to my grandpa's left, it's my mom, Carol Lee Heitmann, and I guess she's not sitting at the table. She's standing, kind of crouched down, leaning between her mom and dad, and she's got like a nice little blue shirt and a white T-shirt on, and to her to the left of my mom, then it's Betty Jean, my grandma Hagen. She's sitting at the table, and she's got kind of a nice multicolored button-up shirt with a collar, and she's wearing a white shirt underneath that, and she's got it it's not buttoned. It's not, it's an unbuttoned button-up shirt, nice multicolored, almost like a flannel type design or plaid designs. Everybody looks nice and casually dressed, but dressed up more than seemed like usual. It was for a visit in Sioux Falls down to Kathy's. I don't know if that's at Kathy's house, though. I don't know all the details of it, but it's such a nice photo that, like I said, it's really provides I guess the mental image I have of those four people in my life. And I think it's a perfect representation of Grandpa's daughters and his wife, and the kickoff of the chapters I've had for the first of 4 chapters called The Daughters. So just a real nice photo to share. Glad I could share this in the memoir. But back to the chapter. So my mom, Carolee, was the older sister. Kathy was the younger sister. 7 years apart is a bit of a gap when it comes to being playmates. 70 plus years later, the sisters still talk on the phone almost every day. They both live in South Dakota, but a couple hundred miles apart. My mom is in Aberdeen, South Dakota, and Aunt Kathy is in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It seems impossible, but the older I get, the more I hear about estranged families out there. Broken relationships by some perceived slight that never mended. Gosh, I feel lucky. My family has never been rocked by that sort of infighting. We have a family Snapchat via an app on our phones. It provides simple communication at the tip of your fingers. So I am in communication every day with my brothers and my mom, along with my nieces and nephews. I'm definitely not in touch with my cousins as much as I would like to be, but I live pretty far away. The day-to-day life grinds away at the calendar and seems to run interference with ideas of just getting together. The door is always open to my Santa Fe home, to all my cousins and their families. And Santa Fe, New Mexico was a top tourist destination in 2025, according to some travel websites. So cousins, come on down. Welcome mat is out, and there's a ton of things to see in the land of enchantment. You won't be disappointed by the food. It goes without saying that my brothers and their families have an open door to Casa del Gregorio. I have been here a couple times to hunt and others just to visit, but it'd be nice to see everyone again. This is a pretty short chapter introducing Grandpa's daughters, and the first of 4 chapters highlighting his children that I'll try to build upon. I thought I would start the foundation with a few photos to get us going. And here's another photo. And I'll read the caption and then try to describe. And the caption reads, "Photo of Grandpa with a handlebar mustache. Mom, Carolee, on the left, and Kathy in the middle, circa 1951. So this is a photo that's, it's a little confusing to me because it's a photo someone has taken a photo with their digital camera, and you can kind of see a little bit of the reflection of who's taking the photo. I think Kathy took this photo and then shared it with my mom, and then my mom shared it with me, but it looks like it's semi-colorized. It's like a black and white photo that was tinted a little bit, but I'm just not sure. But I think like Kathy in the middle, I think she's about 2 years old. That's why I said it's circa 1951. And then my mom's on the left side of the photo. And so my mom, I mean, 7 years older than Kathy, she was about 9. And then Grandpa, so what was he like? About 32, I'm going to say. So Grandpa's on the right side of the photo, and he's just wearing like a white T-shirt, sitting in a chair. And I think my mom is sitting on the arm of the chair, and then Kathy is on Grandpa's lap. And Grandpa's not, you know, in the traditional sense of the memoir, seems like every photo, Grandpa's kind of not really smiling. He's maybe got a little more of a neutral expression again, sort of like the first photo in this chapter. But maybe there's a hint of a smile there. But he's got this definitive handlebar mustache, and he must have waxed it quite a bit because it looks like it's got the ends pointed up pretty good, almost like a villain, a villain's mustache. But it's a classic photo because my grandpa's got really dark hair and dark mustache in this photo, and it's not the image I think of my grandpa being that young and having dark hair. It seemed like he always had gray hair or white hair in my entire life that I consciously knew him anyway. So it's a good photo though. Good photo to start the chapter of the daughters as young girls with their dad. So back to the chapter. The photos shared in this chapter are a quick travel through time. My mom and Kathy grew up in Siston, South Dakota, just across the street from their grandma and grandpa Hagen, where they had more cousins around than I could count. And then we have another photo. I'll read the caption, then try to describe here. And the caption reads, "Photo circa 1953 of the family on vacation. Grandpa bought his little girl some cowboy boots on the Black Hills trip, and as my mom tells the story, Grandma wasn't exactly thrilled. Maybe it was a budgetary issue, but there was enough of a disagreement that my mom still remembered the argument many years later. I'm glad there's a photo of the cowboy boots." So it's Grandpa, and I'm guessing my grandma took the photo because it's Grandpa with his two little girls, and they're both dressed alike, and they both have white kind of tank tops on, or not tank tops because they have collared, sleeveless shirts, I guess. And they both have kind of blue denim jeans, but then blue denim jean shorts, I should say. And then they're wearing these black cowboy boots. And this photo is at, it's like, I think it's the Needles Highway, and it's a tunnel in the Black Hills as you go through up and around Mount Rushmore there. There's a some tunnels that you can go through that they've carved out of the granite rocks and the mountains, and this is like a one lane road through this granite tunnel. And you could Grandpa's mostly blocking the tunnel out, but you can kind of see some daylight of the tunnel in the distance over his left shoulder. So Grandpa's kind of an eclipse of the tunnel here. And the kids, I think, probably like, again, um, I think Kathy's probably 3, and my mom is probably about 10 years old. And Grandpa's dressed in an awesome vacation outfit, it looks like to me. It looks kind of like he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt, a Hawaiian style shirt, anyone would say. And he's got a white t-shirt underneath it, and he's got maybe some khaki or gray pants. And it looks like he's wearing boots, maybe cowboy boots himself. And looks like he's maybe got a little smile on his face there. It's a little bit further away and not quite as crisp of a photo, but good photo of a vacation grandpa out there in the Black Hills, the early 1950s. Just a treasure to see that photo and have that included here in the memoir. And then right away we have another photo of the two girls, and I'll read the caption and try to describe. Circa 1955, Carolee and Kathy enjoy some time with the dogs on the front step. And it looks like these are, I'd say that it's like the couple of boxers, the dogs, like maybe it's the mama boxer, and then mama boxers between the two girls. And then my mom, Carolee, is holding like a puppy boxer. Maybe I'm assuming that's the puppy of the mom that's between them. And they're sitting on the step. I think I'm going to say that's the step on the 505 Spruce Street house in Sisseton, South Dakota. And I labeled this as circa 1955 based on looking at Kathy and what age she probably is. So I think I was estimating her age at about 6. And so that my mom would have been about um 13, 14 years old, somewhere in there. And they're just sitting on the step, the concrete step, and the White House is behind them. And this is a color photo. I should have mentioned the previous photo was in color too, so you can probably got that when I said they had blue denim shorts on. But so this photo, there looks like they're wearing dark. Both of them are wearing dark pants and white shoes, and my mom's wearing like a blue flannel plaid shirt with the sleeves kind of rolled up, and Kathy's wearing like maybe an orange jacket and dark clothes, dark shirt, and dark pants. And they're both smiling, really enjoying having company of the dogs there. It looks like to me. Kathy's got her right arm around the body of the bigger boxer dog. Boxer looks like she's probably just as big as Kathy is. And then my mom's got the puppy on her lap, and she's holding those front legs up, and it's standing on her lap. I think those are boxers. They're kind of tannish. They have a really black face, pointed ears. Good photo. And then we have another photo here as we keep traveling through time in the late 1950s here. So I'll read the caption and then try to describe. Caption reads, including the cat, smiles for a Christmas photo circa 1957. Early, Elvis the cat, and Kathy pose in front of the tree. So this is Christmas time, of course, and I say 1957. Again, this is estimates on my part, just looking at the ages of my mom and Kathy. Oh, my mom probably would have been like 15 and Kathy about 8 or 9, somewhere in there. Maybe my mom was 16. So 15 or 16 or 8 or 9 for Kathy. They're sitting on the floor in front of the tree. There's a lot of Christmas presents around the tree, and the cat, they're the cat is between them, between the two girls, and the cat's got his mouth kind of like, looks like his mouth is like wide open, and both girls are really laughing. I don't know if the cat was meowing or something, on cue. And my mom was wearing like a skirt, like a knee-length skirt, and a grayish colored, and a nice red shirt with that. And Kathy's wearing, looks like also a knee-length skirt, and it's blue plaid, dark blue, black, light blue plaid skirt, and she's got a nice blue top on, dressed up for their Christmas photos, I guess. And I think there might have been some other Christmas photos. I don't know if I shared the similar scene, but different photos. But this one, both the girls are really laughing and smiling, as I don't know, something funny had happened with the cat, maybe, I guess, and they're enjoying themselves. And they got their hair all fixed up, and this is just this very specific sit down to take some Christmas photos of the tree and the presents and stuff. So good, enjoyable photo. And then I move into the 60s with another photo, and I'll read the caption and then describe. And caption reads, Christmas time, circa 1967. Mother and daughters in the kitchen at the Spruce Street house in Siston, South Dakota. And so this photo, looks like they're at the kitchen table. Kathy is sitting at the kitchen table, and Grandma is immediately behind Kathy with her hands on Kathy's chair. And then my mom is to the left of Grandma, her mom. And um, Grandma and my mom are looking at the camera, and then Kathy's, I don't know, looking down towards the floor. So she's not looking at the camera, but Kathy's got kind of her hair done up, kind of higher, like a bouffant type hair. And my mom's just got like a Dorothy Hamill type haircut. I don't know if that's an era of Dorothy Hamill, but they're all smiling, and I don't know what was going on. They're just maybe there's some juice on the table, so maybe it was breakfast in the early morning, and they're just waking up. But they got some decent clothes on here. It looks like. I think I look at these clothes, and they don't look like they're far from fashion today. 50 years later, Grandma's got like a pinkish shirt. Maybe it's almost a mock turtleneck type shirt, but it's short sleeve. Kathy's got a red long sleeve shirt on and a black vest on that. It looks like my grandma's wearing red pants. And then also my mom's looked like she's wearing red pants also, but she's just got a blue t-shirt type shirt on, short sleeve shirt. It's blue with like red um, horizontal stripes across it. Looks nice. I mean, very casual. And just that the very very, I guess, plain kitchen. It's just like paneling or bare wood, stained and finished wood kitchen. It's very, I guess, very rudimentary kitchen. So Anyway, that was the 1967 photo. And then I have a 70s photo here next. And I'll read the caption and then talk about the photo a little bit. And caption reads, over 50 years ago, as marked by the photo itself, January 1974. This image captures some quality smiles. I believe this was taken in Belcourt, North Dakota, shortly after Garrett, my younger brother, was born. Left to right, Kathy, Grandma, Grandpa, and my mom. So this is one of those square photos of the time, and it's got that little white frame around him, and then on the side of the photo it says JAN 74, so January 74, because that was imprinted on there, I guess, when they had the film developed. And I think they came up to see the new baby that was born in November 19th, Garrett's birthday, November 19th, 1973. So this photo is the two daughters and mother and father standing in front of the couch in the Belcourt house. The Belcourt house that we lived in, that was government housing because my dad worked for the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and they provided government housing. I don't know, I think it was low rent housing for government employees. So the family's standing there, they're all smiles, and I don't know, somebody had made some smart aleck remark or something. So Kathy's kind of laughing, and Grandma's kind of got her mouth open looking at Grandpa, and then Grandpa and my mom are looking directly at the camera. Kathy's looking at the camera, but she looks like she's partially laughing. And it's left to right, Kathy, Grandma, Grandpa, and my mom. And Kathy's wearing some sort of, it looks, I don't know what like a peasant blouse, but it's got like weird puffy shoulder sleeves and huge lapels and polka dot top, yellow print. It's got a pocket on its lower right side of the shirt. It's also polka dot material, same as the top third. And maybe, I think she's got like a black mock turtleneck underneath it, and she's wearing blue jeans. Then my grandma's wearing a white turtleneck long sleeve shirt. And over that, she's got this weird sleeveless, longer, probably almost not quite to mid thigh shirt or smock. I don't know, whatever you would call it. And then Grandpa's standing, he's got his blue jeans on and a white, not a white t-shirt. And over that, he's got like a button up Oxford type shirt. It looks kind of pink, maybe creamish pink color. And then he's got a vest, kind of a brown vest over that. And then my mom's got red pants and like it's like a long sleeve or 3/4 length sleeve shirt that's plaid, like almost like a tablecloth. It looks like color, but it comes down to almost mid thigh. It's a collared shirt, and then she's got like a white mock turtleneck shirt underneath that. And so it's just this classic look. And in the background, it's in the living room, I guess, because the couch, they're standing up in front of the couch, and then behind them is a bookshelf. Can't see many books on there. See what they are. There's books, all kinds of books, but can't see what they are. And then there's I'll talk about this in the paragraph below it, but there's a clock, and then way in the background, there's a black eagle soaring through the air that's on a decoration on the wall. But let's finish out the chapter and let's get back to the chapter and finish out the text and talk about a little more referencing the above photo. Just one quick paragraph to comment on the fashion of the 1970s. I look at the photos and every picture, but the 1970s photo seems reasonable for clothes that people are wearing. The exception is Grandpa. Grandpa in the photo from 1974 is wearing clothes that could easily be the style that I might be wearing today. So the question becomes, what the heck was going on with women's clothing in the 1970s? I also want to dive into the January 1974 photo just a bit more. to at least mention the background. It is quite possible that one of us boys has that eagle hanging on the wall in the background as part of our modern day decor. Also, there is a picture of what looks like a clock hanging on the wall. That was a printed painting of a clock that was actually a working electric clock that plugged into the wall. The movement of the clock hands showed the hour and minute, plus there was an encased pendulum that swung. The psychedelic 1960s bleeding over into the 1970s with a painted scene of a clock that was actually a clock. Groovy, man. And then finally, we have one more family photo. And I'll read the caption here and then describe. Circa 1982, Grandpa poses with women in his life in the setting of his den at the country house. Kathy and Carolee flank Grandpa. Grandma is in the front. And so this photo is down in the den where my Grandpa spent a lot of his time when he finally got retired, and he's in his like lazy boy there, sitting in his lazy boy, and the women in his life surround him. He's kind of leaning off to the side, to the right of the chair, to the left of the photo. Kathy's on the left side of the photo, and Grandpa's in the middle, and my mom is on the right side of the photo. And then Grandma is sitting on the floor in front of Grandpa. And you can see, I think that on the back of the chair is an Afghan that my grandma crocheted. And behind the chair, you can see out into the hallway and then the stairs going up into the top of the split level. Well, not the top, the middle floor of the split level house. And those stairs went up right into the little dining room kitchen area. And even on the wall there behind Grandpa, you can see the phone cord. And see some postcards that he received from his ham radio days. And then on the right side of the photo, you can see a desk. And then above the desk, you can just barely see like one of the feet of the deer of Sam that I've mentioned before, the taxidermy deer Sam. And you can see like a couple of golf clubs there just being held by the deer feet. Right there, and then paneling on the wall and a chain for the light there behind my mom. Going to the personnel in the photo, Kathy, she's dressed in like nice blue sweater with a white turtleneck, and Grandpa's got this weird, I don't know, I think it's called like a velour. It's kind of a soft material. It's kind of shiny, and the way the color hits it when you rub it, it can change the color of the way the material is. Looks like Grandpa's wearing blue jeans, and it's a long sleeve collared velour. I'm gonna call it velour shirt. It's kind of orange. It almost matches the orange lazy boy he's sitting in, and some of the colors match the way the material is, match the paneling on the wall and even the desk. And then my mom's it looks like she's got like a turtleneck sweater on. And then it's kind of I would call it a periwinkle. It's like a very light purple sweater that my mom has. And then my grandma's got a yellowish cream colored turtleneck sweater. And the funniest thing for me in looking at this photo is that there must have been a couple people taking pictures, because they look like they're looking at someone else taking a photo. And this photo is, I'm going to guess it was taken by my dad, and they're not looking at him. So, and then my mom's kind of like, she's got her palms up, like questioning, what's going on? Wait, just take the picture. Where should I look? Or whatever. So it's interesting to me. And everyone looks happy. So that's it. Let's finish off the chapter and get this in the books. So back to the chapter. These are just a few family photos to set the stage, to showcase the daughters. It's also a blast to look at tiny slices of each decade from the 1950s to the 1980s. One more comment on the above 1980s photo. This is a favorite photo of mine for the memoir because everyone seems to be having a good time and everyone's smiling, including my grandpa. The rare smile for the photo. And finally, we close out the chapter with a quote. Quote, "A picture is worth 1,000 words," end quote. And I have this quote. I did some research on this. I think there's some different assignments, attributions to this quote. But I called my attribution to this quote to Henrik Johan Ibsen. And he was a Norwegian playwright. So I've never heard of his work. I don't know what he wrote. But according to the research I did on the internet, that he was basically given credit for this quote. A picture is worth 1,000 words. And for this chapter, I don't know, I have 6 or 7 photos in there. So we got 6 or 7,000 words in this chapter of the daughters. That's it. Chapter 36 in the books. The Daughters, Part 1. That's it. We released. People that just want to see and hear the memoir, you're free to go. For those of you staying, we have some sports stuff again. I guess we're kicking back into sports after the NFL season kind of died away and we kind of had a lull. Now we're back with a lot of sports going on. And we had baseball open up and we talked about, you know what, teener baseball in the book. I'm holding up the book if you're not watching the video. And there's the poster in the background, teener baseball. Available through Amazon. I guess you can buy the actual paperback book or you can buy the Kindle version. Both available through Amazon. Just I don't know if you can just search, maybe just Google teener baseball and Gregory L. Heitmann. You could come up with that. It'll probably direct you to the Amazon page. But baseball's back, and it's one quick comment on sports baseball issue. And I just have such disappointment in Major League Baseball and my criticism. I mean, I can always criticize that. I mean, they do things, they struggle. I mean, the NFL, everything the NFL does seem like they are just on the ball, clipping along and taking care of business all the time and doing things that seem like they're fan friendly, I guess, and just sport friendly, athletics friendly. And here's baseball just stumbling all over itself. Like I think I criticized them for starting baseball in March, and I'm trying to think of, maybe it was April 1st. I turned on the Twins game and they were playing Kansas City, and Kansas City is not some southern climate, and they were playing an evening game. It was foggy. It was just unreal. Trying to even see where the ball was going, I guess, and just see it wasn't clear on TV, nothing. It was just pathetic. So I don't know. Maybe I'm a harsh critic of baseball, but until they can get domes in all these places to play baseball, they are just completely missing the boat, missing the support of the fans. Who would want to sit there and when it's foggy, try to watch baseball? And on top of that, then it started raining. It was kind of a mist with the fog. And then it rained for the last few innings. And the Twins are getting beat so bad, I'd stopped watching it. I think it was 10-1 or something. Then the Twins came back, and the last 2 innings, I guess there was a downpour. They wouldn't call the game. They just kept on playing. And there was quotes that people were saying that the pitchers were on the mound, and it was so slick because it was so wet on that mound, because it's just I don't know. The surface of the mound is very thin, some thin clay and dirt, so the pitchers can dig in and have a landing zone for their foot when they're stretching out on their pitching. But they were saying it was so slick, it was like ice skating because it was raining so hard and couldn't even grip the ball. And people were just, it's a dangerous situation. I know outfielders couldn't see the ball off the bat, so they had no idea where the ball was if it was a fly ball. Guessing where the ball was. It's just a clown show. I mean, baseball is truly clownish at this point. So if you're building a stadium and you don't build it with a dome, I mean, even with a movable roof so that you can open it during nice weather, that's the ideal. I mean, how much more is it? I mean, how much more expensive is it to be able to build a dome and put a, a retractable roof on it? It just seems retarded. I mean, let me use the R word, it seems retarded that they can't figure this out to have a roof that can close and open. They actually have that in some stadiums, like in Milwaukee and in Seattle. But do you think the Twins have that in Minnesota or the Kansas City Royals have that? Nope. It's just foolishness. So there you go. One man's opinion on baseball and just how pathetic they are. I don't know. I think the commissioner of baseball, his name is Rob Manfred. And I think that he's attempting to do stuff, but it's just lame. It just seems lame to me. I guess let me end my baseball talk on a positive note because they have a pitch clock now, so you can't just be sitting around waiting forever for some pitcher to start his windup or start his delivery. 30 seconds or whatever it is between pitches. So that will move the game along. That's a big improvement. I'll give them credit for that. And now they're getting more instant replay stuff where they can have challenge balls and strikes. You only get so many of those. I think it's like 2 or something, unless you get them right. Then you get extra. I don't know. I guess I haven't done any research into that, but that's a positive change where the batters they can be satisfied with the idea that they can challenge something if they feel like they've been wronged as far as a ball and strike call goes. So I will give Major League Baseball credit. They are trying, but the progress is so slow with their just accommodations for the fans at the minimum. Not to mention these players. I mean, I just can't imagine how scary that would be to be out there in the downpour trying to play baseball. And these guys are very fine-tuned athletes that I'm sure they're paid a lot of money, and how the danger of them getting hurt or the risk of being hurt in such poor conditions it seems ludicrous to me that be even something the owners could even partially fathom to try to get a baseball game done because you don't want to have a rain delay or have to have a doubleheader the next day or whatever. You don't want to call the game because of weather conditions, and it's just dangerous. I mean, the players can't see, and they're throwing the ball almost 100 miles an hour. They're hitting the ball 116 miles an hour at the top end of that, and you can get someone really, really hurt if you're not careful. So, again, they're trying, but they're pretty much pathetic, it seems like to me, for the most part, still. Well, let's talk about other sports and NCAA men's basketball tournament. Let's talk about that. The March Madness, the Final Four is set for this weekend, so that's exciting. I'm looking forward to that. Some good games. Michigan versus Arizona on one side of the bracket, and Illinois versus University of Connecticut. UConn, if you will. Not the Yukon Territory up there, Canada, but UConn, UConn, University of Connecticut Huskies. So those should be some good matchups, and I think we're going to get a good competitive championship game, no matter who wins out. I wanted to comment on University of Connecticut ended up beating Duke. Duke got way up and then just completely collapsed and choked. And it was so dramatic at the end. The guy hits a freshman from, I think he's from Indiana someplace, and he's playing on University of Connecticut, the UConn team, hits a 35-footer at the buzzer for the Huskies to win. A 3-pointer. They were down by 2, and okay, they were shooting free throws, and they were down by 3. And the guy missed, the University of Connecticut guy missed his first free throw, hit the second one, so they were down by 2. Duke threw the ball in, and they could have just held the ball and got fouled. I think there was 7 seconds left when they threw the ball in. So they could have just held the ball, got fouled, and then got to the free throw line, try to build up the lead. But at the minimum, the ball would have been at the other side of the court, other end of the court. No timeouts for Connecticut. And Duke should have easily won that game. But nope, they threw the ball in, and they passed it forward, and then the guy, not quite at half court line, tried to pass it ahead to the Duke side of the court, and it got deflected. And University of Connecticut, UConn, got the ball and threw it to the guy that was 35 feet away. He was open, but a lot of people are open at 35 feet. And he just hit. It was a perfect swish for a 3-point basket. I think there was still time left, maybe 0.4 seconds left, something like that. And Duke, they tried to throw it down the length of the court. The game was over. And so UConn came all the way back. They're down by half at halftime, or no, down at one point by 19. I think they're down by 10 at halftime. So it was one of the top 10 for biggest comebacks of all time in the NCAA tournament. So congratulations to UConn. They're in the Final Four. And I will mention the Lobos played last night. The Lobo men's team, they're in the NIT, National Invitational Tournament. And that's being played. That's semifinals for that. They played Tulsa last night, and they got beat. They just had some cold shooting. They usually shoot, more than 40%, and they probably only shot maybe 20% from 3-point line, and they just couldn't hit a basket. So they ended up losing by 5, I think, to Tulsa. Anyway, it was a close game. I watched that game. It was good to see. I mean, I'm glad when the Lobos do good. It makes basketball a little more interesting for me anyway. They're my local college team. And then, let's see, just a few more days. Is it next weekend? Less than a week, we start the Masters tournament down in Augusta, Georgia. So the Masters is going to be without Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson. And it's the first time that tournament has proceeded without one or the other or both since 1994. That's just unbelievable. 32 years, at least one of those guys played. And Phil Mickelson has some family health issues he's tending to, so he can't be there. And then Tiger Woods has an ongoing substance abuse trouble, whatever it is. And he was in a crash, and he's not going to be able to play. I don't think he was going to play anyway, but he's entering rehab, I guess. So we'll see what happens with him. It's pretty sad. I think he's had so many injuries and other driving problems and back and broken legs and torn Achilles. He's probably never going to be competitive at the well, maybe he'll have some success in the senior golf tournament if he ever gets healthy enough to do that, or if he chooses to do that. But I guess at the regular golf level, he's probably never going to be real competitive again. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he can make a run again, but it'd be, he's 50. He's 50 years old now, so he's 7 years younger than me. I guess he's almost a peer. We're almost peers. Similar golf skills, I guess you could say. Maybe not. Maybe in his present condition, as a completely battered and bruised and broken human being, maybe we could compete golf-wise. I doubt it. I doubt it. Even if he had a broken leg, he could probably just demolish me on the golf course. Anyway, there's your sports update for basketball, baseball, and golf. the throes of spring right now. But I wanted to, I think I mentioned this beginning of the podcast, and here we are getting towards the end. And I have a new segment that I wanted to maybe propose. I don't know if it'll be recurring, but for today, I wanted to talk about a little bit. And that was the name of the segment I call Art or Not. So I need a drink of water there, be able to continue. Running out of gas here, the late stages of Friday afternoon. But so I was out with Estevan's dog, Echo, kind of falling into a little bit of routine, taking her for a walk while Stev's at work. Just get the dog out of her kennel and let her roam free during the day, get her out on the trail, walking trail. But so I had her for a walk on Thursday afternoon after lunch. It was a real nice day, probably in the mid 60s, low 60s. There's a little bit of a breeze, but we were just out um, on the El Camino Real trail. It's also it winds along the Santa Fe River. And the river is not really the appropriate term because it's dry. There's no water in it. It's ephemeral stream. They refer to those kinds of bodies of water down here in the desert in New Mexico as arroyos, which means mostly dry stream bed. So it's just sand basically. So we walked on the trail a bit, then we walked in the arroyo, the riverbed. It's just a sandy area, and it was damp because we did have some rain earlier this week, so the sand was compacted, a little easier to walk in. But walked it south a little bit, and the arroyo goes under kind of a busier highway. It's a high speed. It's not a freeway in that area, but it's a high speed 4-lane highway. And so there's some bridges that are pretty big going over us, and we were underneath there. And there's a lot of graffiti on these bridges underneath. And I'll post the graffiti and the video podcast. But I'm just going to talk about it here. You know how the modern graffiti, I don't know if it's necessarily gang affiliated, but the question I have in the segment, is it art or not art? And it's very interesting to me. I don't know. I get a kick out of looking at it, and I consider it to be. I guess I think of it as art for the most part because it's so dynamic and flashy. It's all this scripted designs, and I don't know if it actually spells words out, but it's just it looks like there's letters involved in there, different colors. They have a technique where they make the point shiny, and it's like there's like a little flash bulb almost effect on some of these things where they're able to make that um I don't know, shimmer or shine, I guess. And one of the one of the images I took a picture of, and I'll post that. It's got all that lettering, and a lot of times you can see it on train cars. That some of this graffiti is really fancy graffiti, big scale. It's probably letters as tall as me. And then one of the characters, it's a little different from what you'd think of graffiti, but there's like a chili pepper that they'd have on this underneath this bridge on the abutment. It's just a big giant concrete abutment for this big tall bridge. And this chili pepper, it's got its mouth open and kind of eyes on it. It's just it's really comical to me. And then there was another the other side of the bridge, and it had it had some, a little less graffiti, but interesting nonetheless, because they had this. It has this like a name tag, and it says it's like those red. It's got red bars on it, and then in the middle it's white, where you would take a Sharpie and write your name. So it says in the red on the top, it says, "Hello, my name is," and then it's got the white and then red on the bottom. So on the top, it's red, a red bar with white lettering, and then the big white area where you write your name. And it's so somebody had their graffiti name. I don't know what it was. I can't read it. I thought it looks like Hugh flu. It looks like an HEWFLUE to me, but I don't know if that's as, and I don't know if it's gang affiliated or if it's just hoodlums out there using spray paint or whatever it is to leave their mark on the wall. And if it is actually art or not art, I tend to think as art because it is. It's very creative and very dynamic and stunning to look at, I guess, in a lot of respects. I mean, there's some that's just graffiti that's just, you know, they write their names sloppily or whatever. But some of it's just unbelievable that they can do that with spray paint itself. Or if it's, I don't know if it's all spray paint or markers or anyway, you'll have to check it out on the video podcast if you get a chance to look at it and just give me your opinion whether it's art or not art. Which, in this case, we also have a subsection under this new segment. This is the recurring segment of abusive language. And I bring this up because this is a sub-segment of the recurring segment, possible recurring segment. But I wanted to bring up graffiti. And this is a throwback from just a couple weeks ago, talking about Philippines versus Filipino and the PH versus the F. And I don't know where that ever came from. Maybe we should do some research on that of why an F, the letter F, is also equal to a PH sound, the F sound. So why is graffiti spelled with two Fs and not a PH? Can anybody tell me why that is? So I think this is abusive language to spell graffiti with two Fs instead of a PH. You can disagree. You can tell me I'm wrong, but I think I have a legitimate argument on this verbal abuse or abusive language, whatever you want to call it. This category, it'll never end because I'm always seeing things that bother me in the English language, or in the case of Filipino and Philippines, the Spanish language versus English language. So I think it's a never-ending well, a wellspring of controversy that we can always go back to and find controversial and argumentative discussion items as far as the English language goes. So I think I should have a podcast for the rest of my life just in that realm right there of abusive language or verbal abuse, whatever you want to call it. So graffiti or graffiti, you decide. All right, we made it. We made an hour today, so I'm going to chop it off there. Got to get out and get another afternoon walk in today, so stretch my legs as we celebrate Good Friday here in America. But that's it. I'll leave you with the see you later. And as always, we have the 3 B's. Be assertive. Be positive. Be proactive. Take charge of your life. Enjoy it out there. And, glass half full. Let's have the glass half full. Springtime. Just that positive spring, the rebirth of the season. That's what I like to think of spring as. It's so nice that we're getting more daylight hours as the axis of the earth tilts back towards the sun, and we have an earlier morning and a later evening of daylight to get out there, enjoy stuff, get some fresh air. And I should mention, speaking of the tilt of the earth, that we have a moon mission right now going on. This is so hard. It's so hard to believe that we haven't been to the moon in 50 plus years, and we're going to go to the moon in the next couple years. This it's so weird to think about. It's like I, I don't know. I think it was a full moon this week. I don't know if it was the day I saw it, it was full or not, but I was coming back from supper at Angela's and I could look up at the moon. It had rained and the clouds were finally just parting a little bit and you could see the full moon. There was clouds in the sky, but the moon was exposed at that point. And earlier in that day, they had taken off is the Artemis project, or I don't know if it's Artemis is the rocket, but they had launched that rocket. And I had seen the video of them taking off and just how amazing that was, and how much smoke and exhaust were just from that rocket launch. But to look up at the moon and think that, oh my God, there's somebody up there in the sky going towards the moon. It seems fake. I'm not saying the moon landing was fake or this is fake or anything else, but it just is, it's hard to believe that it's real. So anyway, I'm going to leave you with that thought of the idea that, I guess, is anything real? Is this even real? Is this a simulation? I don't want to even get started on that. It's just too, I don't know. It's too much to too much to think about. And again, I like to think of myself as a simple man, not a simpleton, but a simple man. And sometimes I start thinking about the strange goings on of the world. It's just so weird and coincidental that you just wonder, is it real? I'm going to say it's real because, you know, I like to I like to think that I'm a human being and that that I am real. So we got that going for us, right? That's it. Okay. That's it. We're going to shut it off before I start getting in too deep into the philosophical debate of life itself. That's it. Happy Easter, everyone. Happy Good Friday. I don't know if that's maybe not the appropriate thing to say. Have a blessed Good Friday and enjoy your Easter, the rebirth of the seasons, and welcome to spring. You know, here we are. So we say, see you later, but not before we say this and impart these words to you. Knock, and the door will be open to you. Seek, and you will find. Ask, and you shall be given. That's it. All right. We're shutting her down. See you later. See you next time on the Colonel and the Kid podcast. I'm your host, Greg Heitmann. See you later.